game going.
The first of the shocking decisions the Baillieu government made, returning cattle to alpine national parks. I think that's pretty unpopular. Supported and approved the new HRL coal-fired power station. They've been logging endangered species habitats. Wow, people don't like that. They have imposed restrictions on building wind farms that are so stringent and don't apply to any other sort of industrial development in this state.
Rural Environment Group has been working with me, and our community is rallying together, as are you today, to tell Mr Baillieu that it is not all right to have an open-cut brown coal mine in Bacchus Marsh in an area that is productive, that grows food for all of you people and for export. The apples that you eat, the lettuce, the broccoli that you eat comes from Bacchus Marsh.
We all know that this government came to power basically with only two so-called environment policies. One is borne out by our friend the cow here. The other one was its wind energy policy. They've implemented both of them in their entirety, and it's been entirely bad news for Victoria. And I think it's really important to remember with these two, if you like, cornerstones of the little bit of policy, formal policy we've seen, they're both clearly based on political deals and ideology, and not on common sense, not on good science, and certainly not on best practice management of anything.
The Baillieu government came to power, and one of their big slogans, particularly on their electoral material, is about fixing the problems and building the future. But what we've already heard about today, and what I'm going to talk about a bit, is a whole range of new problems that they've created. What we've seen in the last 12 months is a real concerning trend. The first act almost of the Baillieu government when they came to power was to essentially sneak cattle back into the Alpine National Park in January last year, and it was one of those decisions that was really made off the cuff, and we found out in the corresponding months of what a poor decision it was.
While all of that was going on, cows in parks, wind industry being killed, coal industry being ramped up, as if that wasn't enough, we've all that time had the chainsaws in our forests, destroying ancient trees and habitats, and we're now going to hear from Luke Chamberlain, who's going to tell us what the Baillieu government's been up to in assaulting our forests.
About 2 months ago, less than 90 minutes up the road from where we currently stand, and where a number of people here today have just been camping out overnight last night, the Baillieu State Government, through its logging apparatus, Vic Forests, sent the bulldozers into leadbeater's habitat and started trashing the forest at Sylvia Creek just outside of Talangi. Boo indeed. Now these forests are incredibly special. These forests are special because they are the last homes for a myriad of endangered species. They are special because this particular area of forest at Sylvia Creek was one of the small amounts of forest that did not get burnt, singed in fact by the tragic 2009 fires. And the little hole in the Talangi donut is now a sanctuary for wildlife. These forests are special because they are the most carbon-dense forests on Earth, and they make up the water catchments of rural and regional and Melbourne communities. However, this government, it seems, does not pay them that regard. It puts the interests of the makers of Reflex Paper, a giant international paper company, and I can tell you this is printed on recycled paper. It puts the interests of a giant international paper company, Nippon Paper, ahead of the survival of the leadbeater's possum, ahead of the survival of the tiger quoll, ahead of the survival of bats and birds and gliders that depend on these forests that they call home. The Baillieu government locks out the community out of our forests behind locked gates and then publicly subsidises the protection of the bulldozers by arresting the public, arresting the members of the Talangi community who go out there and stand in peaceful protest against the logging. Premier Baillieu is literally betraying Victoria's wildlife to the bulldozers. In the blink of an eye, he is proposing to take us back over 20 years and rip up Victoria's legislation designed to protect our wonderful wildlife.